boys and girls. Our story today is about David becoming king. Israel's leaders met David at Hebron after Saul died in battle and said, "We are all relatives. Even when Saul was king, you led our nation to battle. And the Lord promised that someday you would rule Israel and take care of us like a shepherd." David was 30 years old when he became king, and he ruled for 40 years. David became a good and strong ruler because the Lord All-Powerful was on his side. David captured the fortress of Mount Zion. Then he moved there and named it Jerusalem and David's city. David obeyed the Lord and defeated the Philistines and all Israel's enemies. King David never lost a battle because he obeyed God. Many years later, David was walking around on the roof of his palace. A beautiful young lady was down below in her courtyard having a bath, and David looked at her. Her name was Bathsheba. She was the wife of Uriah, said a servant. And David said, "Bring her to the palace." And she came to him, and he slept with her. But later, when she found out that she was going to have a baby, she sent a message to David, "I'm pregnant." This was a bad sin by David that led to more. God was angry with him and sent a prophet to speak to him. You see, he'd broken one of God's 10 commandments, "Thou shalt not commit adultery." Nathan, God's prophet, told him this story. A rich man and a poor man lived in the same town. The rich man owned a lot of sheep and cattle, but the poor man only had one little lamb that he bought and raised. He even let it eat from his plate and drink from his cup and sleep on his lap. The lamb was like one of his own children. One day, someone came to visit the rich man, but the rich man didn't want to kill any of his own sheep or cattle and serve it to the visitor, so he stole the poor man's little lamb and served it instead. David was furious and said, "Nathan, I swear by the living Lord that the man who did this deserves to die. And because he didn't have any pity on the poor man, he will have to pay 4 times what the lamb was worth." Nathan then told David, "You are that rich man." And he knew immediately what he was talking about. Nathan said, "Because you didn't obey God and took Uriah's wife for yourself, your family will never live in peace." King David prayed, "You are kind, God. Please have pity on me. You are always merciful. Please wipe away my sins. Wash me clean from all of my sin and guilt." And God did forgive David, and he will forgive you too, if you ask. Bathsheba became David's wife after Uriah was killed in battle, and they had a son, but he fell sick and died. David comforted his wife Bathsheba, and later on she gave birth to another son and named him Solomon, and the Lord loved Solomon. He became the next king. David said, "Look around, I live in a palace made of cedar, but the Lord dwells in a tent. I want to build him a beautiful house." And God replied through his prophet Nathan, "No, Solomon, your son, can, but I'll make sure that one of your descendants will always be a king forever." And the way God made that happen is through his son, Jesus Christ. He was in David's family tree and will sit on David's throne forever. This is how it works. There was Jesse had David, and David had Solomon, and Solomon had lots of other kids, but Jesus was born in the same family tree. Jesus became part of David's family tree, and in Matthew chapter 1 it tells us all of the family tree. Jesus wants to be part of his family tree as well. You think that you would like to be part of Jesus' family tree? I would.